And Mayor Duffy is joining us from his hometown in Rochester tonight. Mayor, thank you very much for joining us.
Liz, great to be here.
We have been waiting a long time to speak to you, so I am very excited to have you.
I'm excited to be on your show.
So just today, there's a profile in the New York Times that is really quite interesting. It's of you, obviously, as you are poised to perhaps become the Lieutenant Governor of New York, and you refer to Andrew Cuomo as your soulmate. I wasn't aware that the two of you were that close.
Well, I have said this repeatedly. Andrew and I have gone through a series of discussions and meetings on issues, and it's incredible how aligned we are, and in so many different ways. So it has been a very easy transition for me to join his team and be part of this. And it seems every time issues come up relative to policy and in other areas, we have been in incredibly close agreement. So that is what I meant by that comment, and I'm proud to say that.
Well, do you think it will be difficult for you to make this transition? I mean, you were a chief of police and then you were mayor. That is king of your own domain. And now you're going to become somebody's number two.
I have been a number two before in my career, and I have absolutely loved the two positions previously I've held in my career, actually one I hold now and one previously. But I also feel it is an opportunity of a lifetime, if we are elected, to join a man who I think will be a tremendous governor and be part of a change that will impact the entire state. And my motivation for joining Andrew is to be part of that change, and I've lived firsthand the challenges that this state has faced, especially the upstate region, economically and otherwise. And so I have no qualms about this. I would see my role is to support the next governor if we're elected, to help him to implement the changes that he is going to implement. I bring a local government perspective to the table with Andrew, which I believe he values tremendously. And I see it as a great opportunity to work with somebody who I like and respect, and who I think will be a great governor if he's elected next Tuesday.
You know, speaking of challenges, just today we're getting word from Governor Patterson that there will be 898 layoffs, he says, before his tenure is done, and the end of his tenure is right around the corner. You have a reputation of being quite sharp-elbowed, both on the basketball court and also with the unions in Rochester. I mean, the unions are responding quite angrily to Governor Patterson. Do you expect that the Cuomo-Duffy administration, if there is one, will have a difficult time with the unions? Well,
what Governor Patterson is doing is what I have done in Rochester. Our city has the lowest number of employees since President Truman was in office. The one thing that I've said repeatedly here is the only entity that does not fully realize that we're in the worst recession in the history of our country are some people in the public sector. What I see a Governor Cuomo doing in the future, and if I'm lucky enough to be with him at that point, is to see coming to the middle of the table, bringing labor, bringing government, bringing business together. There is going to be pain. You cannot escape pain with an $8.2 billion budget deficit. There has to be changes. And I think those who are going to hang on and not want any changes whatsoever are not really grasping reality. It is not about being anti-union or anti-labor. It is being about pro-citizen and pro-taxpayer. And in Rochester, I'm proud to say we have cut taxes, we have cut spending, we have increased development. And sometimes in these campaigns, you hear rhetoric where other people talk, the other party talks about what they do in terms of being fiscally conservative. Well, some people talk about it and some people actually do it. And one thing the Democratic Party does not do is talk about those successes. Andrew Cuomo has done it as the Secretary of HUD. He's done it as our Attorney General. I've done the same thing in Rochester. And you cannot bridge huge budget gaps without some form of pain, and that's to be expected.
Do you think there's going to be a war between, metaphorically speaking, of course?
Well, I think war is a decision made by one side. I don't believe a Governor Cuomo wants to create a quote-unquote war, but I also think Andrew Cuomo will never back away from tough decisions. And the only way we can bridge that huge budget gap, the only way that we can lower the tax burden across the state and not only keep businesses here in New York State, but become a magnet for new businesses to come in, is to lower spending. And one thing, Liz, that I've said repeatedly in my role as a mayor in Rochester, when we talk about changes, we talk about cuts, we talk about tax increases, we have not raised taxes. And you cannot put a tax burden on people and families like here in Rochester who are making an income of $29,000 per year because you lack the courage to say no in government. It takes courage, it takes conviction to say no. We have to lower our spending in New York State. There's no other way around it. And the best way to do it is not to think in terms of war or metaphors like that. It is looking at bringing people together. When in a family, if a mom or dad loses a job, they don't go to war with each other. They pull together, they make decisions, they make cuts, they make spending decisions in their own lives. Government should be no different. And government has not done that yet, especially in New York State. But I can promise you in 2011 that the next governor, whoever that governor will be, there is no other way to accomplish our goals for the future for the state without going through that process. And so it has to happen.
You know, this job that you're auditioning for at this moment actually used to be something of a backwater. I mean, Governor Patterson used to joke that he would get up and his main job was to pick up the phone and call Eliot Spitzer and make sure he was still breathing and then go back to sleep. And that's a joke that Governor Patterson used to tell. Now, of course, this job has, we've seen in the Spitzer-Patterson situation, a much higher profile. Do you believe you've been thoroughly and sufficiently vetted?
Well, I think I've been vetted. I have run for office twice. I probably have gone through more background investigations in my career than anybody running for office could ever. And here's what I think is important to note, that this position is really dependent upon the relationship with a governor and his lieutenant governor. When Andrew Cuomo and I first talked, he talked about his father being a lieutenant governor. He understands the role, and what Andrew wants is to change this state. He could have picked a number of people that could be much more politically palatable than an upstate mayor would be. He picked me as his running mate for a number of reasons. First of all, to bridge that upstate downstate divide, which I believe is driven more often politically across the state. He is looking for someone who has government experience, and quite frankly, I'm proud of the fact that in this recession, we have cut taxes, we have cut spending, we have increased development. There's things that I'm very proud of. I'm blessed with a great team here in Rochester, and Andrew has looked at some of those accomplishments, and I'm proud that he would look for a person that could help him in some capacity and help him do that. I don't have a big ego. I understand one thing. If we're elected, there is one governor and one governor only. It is about this role supporting the outcome for the state, putting citizens and taxpayers and kids first. And Andrew and I have had a seamless relationship. We get along great personally and professionally. I respect him. I trust him. If I did not respect or trust Andrew, I wouldn't be in his position.
So, Mayor, then?
So I am confident.
Just to ask you real quickly, I wanted to interrupt just for a second. I'm so sorry. Are you interested in being governor at all, just further down the line?
I am only interested in being, if I'm elected, in being the best lieutenant governor in helping Governor Cuomo, who I hope will be elected next Tuesday, to turn around this state and take this state from being one of the worst for business in the country and a laughing stock in some areas and make it a state that once again we are all proud to be part of. That is my only interest. If you look back at my career, when I was police chief, I never sought any political office. This happened, I won't say by accident, but I was recruited to run for mayor. I did not go out there and campaign and talk to leadership before I decided to make that decision. I was recruited. I've loved this job. I never expected to be asked to run as lieutenant governor with Andrew. I didn't expect it. He had my full support, whoever he chose. But it is exciting to join a man who I think will be a great governor. And if the voters of this state follow what I believe will be the best instincts, there is no one in this race that brings to the table what Andrew brings. And to be a part of it, to help him, would be an absolute honor for me.
I think what you're referring to when you talk about politically palatable is the issue of someone of color, because there's no minority candidates on the ticket, which really upset people in the Latino and African American communities.
I think you're right, and it's something that we have discussed. Andrew's talked about having, if elected, his administration be the most diverse in history. And I'm well aware of the comments that were made, and Mr. Barron specifically has made a point publicly to say things about my candidacy. And I've said this in a recent interview. Mr. Barron doesn't know me. He doesn't know my community. Look at what Rochester, the demographic makeup of Rochester, and the support that I have had in my position as police chief and as mayor has come because of one thing. I'm dedicated to serving people, and I would hope we're at a point in life that people don't look at the color of one's skin. They look at what they bring to the table. And I don't believe anybody has to worry about diversity in a Cuomo administration. It will be an administration that is stacked with talent and will represent the demographics across this great state. But again, Andrew could have picked other people for this position that may have been more politically palatable, as I said before, and he really showed me a lot and really the courage of his conviction to go with specific skills or experiences that he wanted to have. And I appreciate his candor with that, and it is my goal to work very hard and never to, in any way, lose the trust and confidence that he has placed in me.
Well, Mayor, unfortunately we're out of time, but I want to thank you very much for coming on at this late date, so close to the election day, because this is the first time some of our viewers are getting to see you, and I hope to be seeing more of you in the future if you are elected. Thanks very much.
Liz, I look forward to it. Thank you so much.